The bishop is sending his son over to my mom's, and what is very clear to me is my brother, he was in such shock that all he could send me was a text that said, "Mom's dead." And I just screamed and I hollered, and I was so overwhelmed in grief in those few moments, because you're shocked that you become a part of a family like that. Here in the United States, there are at least over 250 families who heard that same phone call, got that same message that someone they loved was senselessly killed in a massacre by a person who hated them because of the color of their skin. Right now, I said to Michelle, it's difficult for me right now in this interview right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed in just grief, but I also know that my mom was a tenacious woman and that she would want me, in spite of everything that I am feeling right now, to have the opportunity to tell her story. And that's why I'm here right now.
And I know that you will. I know, Pamela, that you will tell her story. And I can't imagine how hard it is for you to do that, and the strength that it takes as well for you to do that. Michelle, we did just show a picture of the meeting of your family with the vice president. What did you tell her? And what did she say to you?
Let me just adjust. Yeah, the meeting with the vice president was great twofold. What she said to us, which we are so grateful for, was she offered her sincere, heartfelt condolences, and we felt that. We felt that not just with her words, but by her presence. So we were eternally grateful for that. The only question, or not, that I have for her, based on, you know, our family and being a liaison, is that we wanted to continue the conversation. So we knew that this meet and greet, as much as it was, all of maybe 15 minutes or so, respectfully, just wasn't enough time. So this was our opportunity to emphatically continue the assignment. And our assignment was to continue that conversation to effect change and take that compassion onto an effective change. So we were so glad that she obliged us, and we're excited about it.
That you will have a chance to go to the White House at some point. That's your expectation. What can you tell us?
Absolutely. The only question I had for her, I said, you know, we're really glad that you came. We are so grateful for your empathy and sympathy, but beyond that, we need a conversation. We want a chance to sit at the table and put some strategic planning together so that no other family in this country and this world, for that matter, is impacted the way that we were. And she looked me eyeball to eyeball and obliged. So we're excited, and we're just waiting for that date.
I mean, Dominique, there's never enough time to explain, you know, what the loss is of your cousin, what the loss is to your family here. I know that your family wants to see change. They want to see an anti-Black hate crime bill. We see the data. We see that bias against Black Americans overwhelmingly comprises the largest category of reported hate crime offenses year over year. What does your family want Congress to know? What do they want to see?
More than just my family, it's the community. As Michelle said, one massacre at one grocery store has touched one person and two families, right? So if you can imagine one person and two families, this is an entire community. We need to not just see change in this hate bill. We need to go and sit at this table because there needs to be a systematic change.
Absolutely.
This system is working exactly as it's supposed to work, which is why the murderous thug that killed all these people is still alive and walking and sitting in his jail cell awaiting his trial, while there are many, many Black people who have done less who are dead right now. A man who passed a fake $20 bill on live TV got himself strangled and choked, suffocated to death. So what we really need to see, what my cousin would be happy to see, what Pearl Young would be happy to see, what all 10 of the Buffalo 10 would be grateful to see us do is go sit down at that table and have a real conversation about what systems were in place that allowed an 18-year-old who is not legally allowed to smoke cigarettes to go buy an AR-15 and drive hours to another city and murder people for no other reason than the color of their skin. There are reasons that was able to happen, and that's what we need to sit down and talk about.
Dominique, Michelle, Pamela.
And Brianna?
Sorry, go on. Go on, Pam.
Brianna, if I can just say one quick thing, I believe that this is unprecedented times, and I want to go to Congress. And I know that's never happened, but I want to go to Congress and I want to tell Congress the story of my mother. They need to hear that story. I want them to know what it sounds like when the funeral director says you have to bring a hat because of what a man did with something that was so powerful. I want them to know what it is like to touch a person's hair that's been filled with blood, and so the softness of their hair is no longer there. I want to talk to Congress. Absolutely. They allow, you know, January 6th, insurrectionists came and put their feet in the House of the Senate. Why can't I come there and speak to them? I don't want to talk behind closed doors. I want them to hear my mother's story. Every American deserves that. We are not the children of the Congress or the Senate. Absolutely. We are their constituents. Absolutely. And they need to hear what we have to say.
They work for us, and this needs to be looked at as domestic terrorism as serious as 9/11 was. Because if we can come together as a country and see the unity and the importance of unity against international terrorism, why can we not see that against domestic terrorism?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, you all deserve to be heard, and we all deserve to hear what you have to say. And we appreciate you being with us this morning, all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us and hearing us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Happening now, President Biden is attending Mass at St. Joseph on the Brandywine Roman Catholic Church. He's in Delaware for the 7th anniversary of his son Beau's death. Afterwards, Biden will make his way to Arlington National Cemetery, where he'll lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier and deliver remarks on this Memorial Day. Meanwhile, travel plans derailed across the country as thousands of flights are grounded this weekend. So what's behind it?
And new details on the arrest of Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband charged with a DUI following a car crash, how Speaker Pelosi is now responding.
Cooking was a world of men. She changed everything.
Julia Child understood the importance of women and women's rights.
She absolutely expanded the possibility.
In Watertown, Sioux Falls will bank near 82. That's a lot on weather. Stay with us. We will have more details coming up toward the top of the hour.
The exclusive sponsor of KELO Land this morning is SDN Communications.
America's Got Talent.
Spouses of military members is said to be 3 times higher than the national unemployment rate. It's due to all that frequent moving around and being uprooted. It's challenging to establish a stable career. Well, here to help are a couple of experts. Amy Dobson, the Human Resources Manager at Hire Heroes USA, along with Matthew Veen, the team lead of commercial banking at Navy Federal Credit Union.
This is your Weather Now update. I'm meteorologist Adam Rowe. We had a very active start to the day in southeastern portions of KELO Land with severe thunderstorms and even a pair of tornado warnings in Iowa and Minnesota, respectively. Even some hail upward of 2 inches in diameter being recorded in portions of Sioux Falls, but much of the afternoon has been quiet and cloudy for that matter. Here's a view of Lake Madison, 76.
Could have your cake and drink.
Champion, and to achieve that and to win this race is just
yeah, it's incredible. I'm trying to sort of understand how we managed to do it, but yeah, I'm extremely happy at the moment.
If you could tell your 6-year-old self that you did this, what would you say?
Dream big and work hard, because I think that's been the thing. You know, I've been dreaming about this day pretty much all my life.
And Erickson has a very busy week ahead of him. He has a championship dinner tonight. He's headed to New York to open the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow. And then on Sunday, he has the Detroit Grand Prix. Adrian.
All right, thank you so much, Kelsey. Also, today is Memorial Day. So besides cheering for the Indy 500 champion, we're paying tribute to our nation's fallen heroes. In a News Nation exclusive, we're going to hear from sailors on board the USS Nimitz as well. We have interviews that you will not see anywhere else because we're going to get on board that ship. Stay with us. Plus, people are fleeing 8 of the 10 largest cities in the U.S. Why people are moving out, where they're headed, and why you might want to actually kind of go on the same trend. Here on Morning in America, we are sharing stories of kindness, generosity, and positivity from across the nation. So if you know somebody who is a hero of kindness, we want to feature them in our special segment, American Hero. Join us right here live. We'd love to have you on TV with us. Go to newsnationnow.com/American Hero.
You've had no choice.
No. If we don't intervene, this shooter could have been prevented if intervened at a younger age and seen there was trouble abroad.
Okay, let's go to Mark. Mark is in New Hampshire, a gun owner. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Long-time caller and viewer. The previous caller was pretty right about the mental health situation. Bullying is still going rampant through the schools. It's interesting to listen to all of the different opinions, but no one's attempting to touch on the elephant in the room. Why was that door unsecured? Why was that door left propped open, and within 5 minutes, this kid knew exactly where to go to perpetrate his heinous crime? Why was that door left unsecured? You can throw all the money you want at everything and make all the laws you want, but if you don't follow the laws that you have, if you don't follow the requirements and regulations like keeping the doors closed, this wouldn't have happened. Where's this elephant in the room no one's talking about?
That's Mark there in New Hampshire. One of the things brought up yesterday on the Sunday shows, the guest was Representative Val Demings, Democrat from Florida. She served also as the former police department chief for the city of Orlando in Florida, talking about investigating the actions of law enforcement during the events of the shooting at Ross Elementary School. Here's a portion of her comments from yesterday.
We all know post-Columbine, there is no time to waste, that the officers on that scene are expected to go into those active shooter situations. We trained on it at the Orlando Police Department, and every sworn member, including the chief of police, went through the active shooter training. So obviously, that did not happen. The other important thing, those early minutes after the shooting, we know that there's a demand for more and more information, but the information that we give, especially when we say an SRO, a school resource officer, went in and basically engaged the suspect and ammunition or bullets were fired, and that's not true. The communications, we have to make sure that it is as clear and as accurate as possible. So there's a lot of work to do there. We have certainly more questions than answers, and I know that we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Should there be some sort of federal probe or some sort of school shooting safety board at the federal level, or is this all to Texas State Police?
Well, what we do know is that there were multiple agencies involved. I personally think the wrong agency was in charge of that scene, but let me say this, I wasn't there on the ground. I know that police officers have a tough job in these active shooter situations, as we've seen time and time again. They're usually outgunned, we know that. But we must, Margaret, demand an investigation. And I believe the FBI, I mean, that would be my vote for a federal investigation. But I do believe, since there were so many agencies involved on the ground, it's important that we know what role every agency played. It's important that we know, was there any discussion about going in, those 19 officers who I'm told were in the hallway? Were there any discussion between other commanders from other departments? We must know the answers to those questions, and I think a federal investigation is certainly in order.
Let's go to Richard in North Carolina, Democrats line. Hello.
How are you this morning? I just want to say that children are our most prized possession, and we have to do anything necessary to protect them. My opinion is when we have these teachers, they're going to college, they're learning how to teach children. They also need to be trained to protect the children. If that means they have to have a gun on their side, so when there's an active shooter or they hear a gunshot, they go to the corridor or the hallway, and after they tuck their children away, told them get back, go to the hallway and protect. They should have the same authority as, well, protect and to serve those children.
Why do you think the teachers would have that kind of skill to respond in that kind of situation?
Well, like I said, we have to train them. If they can go to college, they can also learn, just like we train police officers to do, which they did not rush in. And children come first. So when there's an active shooter, the teacher has to understand that their lives are on the line for these children. And
Okay, that's Richard there in North Carolina. One of the stories talking about what happened on the Sunday shows yesterday quotes Senator Dick Durbin, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, saying that he was not certain that the Uvalde tragedy would move enough Republicans to show, quote, political courage in a very tough situation. I can't say for certain, but I can tell you I sense a different feeling among colleagues after Uvalde. Of course, 10 years ago with Sandy Hook and Parkland and so many other instances. He added that stories coming out of Uvalde could compel lawmakers to picture your own grandchildren or children as captives of this madman. He's killing them off one by one in that school, and realize it's time for us to do something. Let's go to Al. Al in Mississippi, Republican line.
I love this.
I do too.
It's kind of like a wood powder coat finish on aluminum. So again, easy to put together, only a few minutes to assemble. It comes with these hooks so you can put your towels from the pool, some plants and things on there. So this is again great to kind of create privacy on your patio.
Yeah,
really
it's
nice.
so expensive to plant plants as a privacy. You can just put this
Just
down.
put it wherever you want. It's portable. You can move it around.
Look at these
so
torches.
Halo fire torch. I love these things, guys. They are patented with a proprietary. They have the Vortec flame inside here. It's like a cycle.
Models for a lot of people, and what they say has more impact than any commercial we show or any political speech given by a politician.
Yeah, Steve Kerr, as you mentioned, the Golden State Warriors head coach spoke so passionately last week, and he's going to command a significant spotlight in the days ahead as his Golden State Warriors face the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals that start on Thursday. Mike Barnacle, thank you so much for being with us today. And still ahead here on Morning Joe, President Biden and the First Lady departed Mass just a short time ago. They attended service at St. Joseph on the Brandywine Roman Catholic Church in Greenville, Delaware, just a short drive from his home. Today, Memorial Day, also marks 7 years since his son, Bo, died from cancer. Bo is buried at the cemetery on those church grounds. We saw the First Lady with a bouquet of flowers to be placed at the gravesite. It's part of a somber weekend for this president. Today, he visits the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery after yesterday mourning with the families in Uvalde, Texas. We're going to go live to that shattered South Texas city just ahead on Morning Joe.
People to be safe out on the water, with many people planning boating trips for the holiday weekend. The Department of Natural Resources says boating has become even more popular in recent years. With that comes a rise in deadly incidents on the water. Minnesota recorded 18 boating fatalities last year, the most since 2005. The DNR's Recreation Safety Outreach Coordinator says most fatalities involve people not wearing a life jacket. Another safety reminder for the Memorial Day holiday is your food. Health experts say hot and humid weather creates the right environment for foodborne illness. Make sure your hands and surfaces are clean before and after preparing food. Once the meal is done, get everything back in the fridge. Don't leave food out for longer than 2 hours. The CDC estimates 48 million Americans get sick, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 die from foodborne illnesses every year.
South Dakota students will be part of a Memorial Day parade in our nation's capital later today. Members of the Harrisburg High School band will be included in a parade marching down Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. KELO Media Group will be airing the National Memorial Day Parade on Sunday, June 26th on KELO Extra. The program will air from 12 to 2 p.m.
There are several Memorial Day programs taking place across KELO land today. However, be on the lookout for any cancellations due to today's storms. The South Dakota State Veterans Cemetery in Sioux Falls will be hosting a Memorial Day observance with music starting at 10 a.m., followed by the program at 10:30. No cars will be allowed at the event. Buses will leave the South Dakota Military Heritage Alliance at 8:30 a.m. American Legion Post number 22 in Rapid City is hosting a program starting at 9 a.m. Mountain Time at Veterans Memorial Park at the corner of 5th and Omaha Street. In Aberdeen, short programs will be held at Riverside Memorial, St. Mary's Cemetery, and Sacred Heart Cemetery. The main program will be held at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Plaza in Sunset Memorial Gardens. Memorial Day ceremonies in Watertown will take place at 9:30 a.m. at St. Mary's Cemetery and 10:30 a.m. at Mount Hope Cemetery. To see a full listing of Memorial Day programs in other communities, go to this story on KELOland.com. Now let's get one last look at your forecast with meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian?
All right, quick update on weather. Severe thunderstorm warning just popping up here for O'Brien County, northwestern Iowa. Also, we got portions of Cherokee, Buena Vista County. Basically, storm here moving north at 40, nickel-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. So just strengthened a little bit. Nothing too terribly severe, but do want to mention that there in northwest Iowa. Okay, bottom line is today, be weather aware. This is extremely important. We've got a lot going on with the forecast. We're going to start the day in the 60s. The air is going to destabilize. We do expect thunderstorm clusters to pop up, and when they do, any mode of severe weather can occur in this zone. The enhanced risk includes Sioux Falls. It includes Yankton and Mitchell. The moderate risk, which is a little more concentration of severe weather, but it's all not good. I mean, there's none of this that's that any of us are looking forward to, but we're going to have to probably endure some thicker rounds of severe weather in the Northeast, and that will include an attendant tornado threat today, the likes of which we haven't had risk levels like this for a long, long time. To be quite honest with you, it's been a few years since I've seen a tornado risk like this in eastern South Dakota. So it's very important that we just kind of keep up on the weather today. Our job in the Storm Center, Scott Munt, we sent him home after the overnight coverage. He's resting up. He's going to be back. All of us will be staffed in the Storm Center, and we'll be covering everything as it develops. But obviously, any tornado threat is a concern for us. Latest update on Futurecast tries to develop these storms, redevelop, I should say, by the noon hour west of Sioux Falls. Anything that pivots from southwest to northeast and has any rotation. That's what we're going to have to watch, and stay tuned for watches and warnings as they come out. 82 high today, Sioux Falls. Quick look at the 7-day. I know you can catch some of this information online at our webpage, but we will be updating, of course, the day one forecast frequently throughout the forecast today. After today, a lot quieter. Guys?
Thank you, Brian. That's our time. Thanks for watching.
Have a great day.
Welcome to CBS Mornings. I'm Michelle Miller.
I'm Jim Axelrod.
And I'm Nikki Batiste. Here's today's eye-opener, your world in 90 seconds. Protests in Uvalde as President Biden visits and the police response to the shooting is investigated.
We're still learning of new developments. You know, my heart goes out to the community. We're emotionally shattered.
Following the events in Uvalde, the NRA held its national convention in Houston, which has been met with protests.
Guns are killing people, and no one's doing anything about it.
Millions of Americans travel this holiday weekend despite canceled flights and record-high gas prices.
We wanted to go farther, but gas prices are killing us.
More than 2 million women live in areas without easy access to maternity care. Why the problem is getting worse.
How long will it take you to get to the hospital?
About an hour.
Clashes erupting in the West Bank as thousands of flag-waving Israelis march through the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem's Old City.
Sidestep three, tough shot and splashdown. NBA Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 in Miami. Jason Tatum with a couple of ridiculous shots to keep Boston ahead in the fourth quarter. He had 26 points on the night. Spins, fires, butter. Celtics move on to the NBA Finals against the Warriors.
Not a lot of people believed in us. We took the toughest route, and it worked out.
This morning's Eye Opener is presented by Progressive, making it easy to bundle insurance.
And welcome to CBS Mornings. How about those Celtics? What a shot.
Huh?
What a shot. I know at least one fan who's very, very, very happy. She works with me on the weekend. We've got some important stories to share with you this Memorial Day. Americans are on the move again after years of hesitancy during the pandemic. But there have been a lot of travel delays, and Errol Barnett looks at one big
and started to put pressure on that victim. And somebody said there were 2 more victims just around the corner, one of them with a headshot wound. There were young kids and teenagers running, some of them tripping on the ground, not knowing if they were hit themselves.
If you know your kid has access to a firearm, you must intervene before someone, perhaps even your own child, ends up dead.
Investigators don't believe the shooting was gang-related. So far, no suspect is in custody. In Taft, Oklahoma, investigators say an argument at an outdoor Memorial Day festival led to another mass shooting early Sunday. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation said a 39-year-old woman died and 7 other people were wounded. The injured range from 9 to 56 years old. None have life-threatening injuries, according to the agency. In Henderson, Nevada, a shooting on an interstate in broad daylight left at least 7 people injured, 2 of them in critical condition, according to the Henderson police. Investigators say the shooter is still at large.
The Gun Violence Archive tracks mass shootings when 4 or more people are shot in a single incident. And at last check this morning, so far this year, we've already had more than 225 mass shootings across the nation. John.
Unbelievable. Nadia Merrill, thank you very much. And today, the first funeral service for one of the 21 victims of the Robb Elementary School shooting will take place for 10-year-old Amri Jo Garza. CNN's Adrian Brodus live in Uvalde, Texas, with more. Adrian.
John, good morning to you. The first visitation and rosary is planned today for Amri Jo Garza. Her parents described her as someone who loved swimming. That was her favorite hobby. And here it is Memorial Day. Now her parents are spending Memorial Day without her as they prepare for a journey of first without their loved one. They're not alone. So much grief and heartache here, and they're having a tough time accepting the unanswered questions.
We need change. Our children don't deserve it.
The Justice Department says it will review the law enforcement response to the Robb Elementary shooting.
I'm glad that the Justice Department is listening, and they're going to do a review of the law enforcement response. Like I said, I think everybody was shocked that it took an hour for law enforcement to go in there and finally take out the shooter.
Law enforcement's latest timeline of events showing officers waited 75 minutes before entering the classroom and shooting the gunman. The response is now under intense scrutiny, especially after the initial timeline provided by police had a number of inaccuracies, some believing lives could have been saved had officers acted sooner.
I sat down with a family yesterday,
Mom told me that her child had been shot by one bullet through the back, through the kidney area. The first responder that they eventually talked to said that their child likely bled out. In that span of 30 or 40 minutes extra, that little girl might have lived.
The gunman was barricaded in the classroom as students in the room called 911, begging for help. Even as gunshots rang out, police waited in the hallway for backup, equipment, and negotiators before finally using a janitor's master key to unlock the door and kill the gunman. This as more young students have come forward to describe that excruciating hour.
He just shot 4 bullets into our class, but her nose broke, and then our teacher got shot in her leg and her torso, but she's all right. I was hiding under a table next to the wall it goes to the end of the wall to the start of the wall. And it's a very big table, but I could still see his face.
Democrats in the Texas State Senate demanding Governor Greg Abbott call a special session to pass stricter gun control laws. This as President Joe Biden visited the grieving Uvalde community on Sunday.
President Biden, we need help! We need help, President Biden!
Residents pleading with the president for change in the wake of this massacre. Biden responding to the crowd as he was getting in his car. The president and first lady visited a memorial at Robb Elementary to lay flowers, and then they attended a church service for the victims. Afterward, Biden met privately with some of their families.
He cared. I mean,
truly cared.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't fake.
It was really just all about my daughter. You know what I mean? That's all we talked about. And he, like I said, they were very gracious. They showed compassion, and that's all we were here for. You know what I'm saying? He listened to everything, and we listened to him. He shed some tears. We shed some tears.
Indeed, this is going to be a difficult week for members of the community as those parents prepare to say goodbye to 19 children and 2 teachers. I spoke with a woman who has lived here nearly all of her life, and she told me the initial shock of the shooting is starting to wear off, but the reality of what life will look like is beginning to sink in. And she said each day the pain gets heavier and heavier. We've seen families standing in front of this memorial with their grief. The only thing that they have to hold on to now are memories of their children, because time didn't allow them to say goodbye to kids they thought would live decades longer, John.
Just unimaginable grief and heartbreak. Adrienne Broaddus, thank you very much.
Joining us now, national correspondent for the New York Times.
Soon as next week. Jim?
Nicole, thank you. Now to the holiday travel rush, and it was a chaotic weekend for many. More than 5,400 flights were canceled from
of these tragedies, the various gun control policies being pushed by the left would have done nothing to prevent the horror that took place. Absolutely nothing.
But in a new video, actor Jon Voight, a longtime Republican, says there need to be new qualifications to buy guns.
We must identify every individual for their credentials, for their mental capacity to bear arms. There should be proper qualifications for gun ownership and proper testing. One should only own a gun if they're qualified and schooled.
Garrett, let's talk about the timeline here. What and when should we be looking for in the coming days and weeks?
Well, Chanel, Congress is going to act quickly here or they won't act at all. Democratic leadership in the Senate have said there's a 10-day window for negotiations before Democrats will force a vote on a background check bill that right now doesn't have the votes to pass. Time is of the essence here as these negotiations continue.
A lot of eyes on this one for sure. Garrett, thank you.
All right, we want to head overseas now where we're following some breaking news from Ukraine. Intense new fighting between Ukrainian and Russian forces has erupted in the eastern part of the country, and it comes just hours after Ukraine's president made a rare and risky visit to the front lines. NBC's chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the very latest. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom. Russia's foreign minister said that Moscow's main goal right now is to capture and demilitarize this part of eastern Ukraine known as the Donbass. And to do that, Russian forces are attacking village after village, while claiming to be liberating them.
Russian troops are only about a mile from the village of Siversk, and they're closing in. Russia claims to be attacking the village and dozens of similar ones in Donbass to free Ukrainians from Nazi rule. But there are no Nazis here. The local mayor says that's an excuse for a land grab. Russian forces bombed Siversk train station. Now nothing moves. Russia is trying to steal this rich agricultural area near Russia's border by squeezing Ukrainians out. Russia has bombed out Siversk power and running water. Ukrainians remaining in the village, about half the population, survive by cooking on open fires. The village school is no more. Artur, 11 years old, used to go to classes here until the Russians dropped a bomb about a week ago.
What do your parents tell you about why this is happening?
Ну, иногда да, иногда нет. Ну, мне это и так все понятно.
His favorite subject was health and fitness. He knows something about it. Artur suffers from anemia, but there's no medicine for him now. The hospital and pharmacies are all closed. Without his pills, he sometimes feels weak and nauseous. While we spoke, he had one of those nauseous moments that are becoming more frequent.
Is that your stomach?
Да, это болезнь у меня.
Artur's friends have mostly all gone. At home, he's with his mother and brother. In their apartment, neat and well kept despite it all, Artur's mother, Lily, doesn't understand why Russia, which is such a big country, needs more land.
Больно, очень больно. Никогда не ожидали, что так будет в такое время.
Artur's family also have a small garden on the edge of the village. He has planted most of the vegetable patch by himself, but some days the gardening is difficult when he's feeling weak. Thankfully, the dill grows quickly. And today, there are some radishes, too. The food helps them resist and hang on. They don't want to leave. As tough as it is now, this will always be their home.
Ukrainian forces say to protect these villages and the surrounding cities in the Donbass, they need one thing urgently: weapons. Tom?
Richard Engel for us again this morning. Richard, we thank you for that.
All right, we have a lot more to get to as we welcome in Jacob Soveroff. He's in for Craig this morning. Jacob, good morning.
Chanel, Tom, good morning to you guys. Good morning to you at home as well. The long weekend has already...
We got rare access inside the port's grain terminal at a standstill.
The grain would normally flow out of the silos up there into the plant, and these belts would be absolutely full. At the moment, that's all there is.
Ukraine's vital exports going nowhere, pushing up food prices around the world.
Well, you can see Odessa port down in the distance behind me, ending that Russian blockade as well as the arms supplies to Ukraine on the agenda at a key meeting of European leaders today. Guys, you can hear the air raid sounding a reminder of the war here across this country. Whit?
It sure is. All right, Tom, thank you. We do want to shift gears now and turn to the history being made in the UK. Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee commemorating her 70 years on the throne. Amy Robach is in London all week long, bringing us the pageantry, the festivities, and she's at Buckingham Palace with a great view this morning. Amy, good morning.
I know I am not complaining about the view at all, Whit. Good morning to you. And yes, we're at the heart of the Jubilee celebration, Buckingham Palace, and GMA has a front row seat. We are the only American broadcast with this type of access, and we're going to show you something that has never happened in the history of the British royal family. We have seen silver jubilees, we've seen diamond jubilees, but we have never seen a platinum jubilee. No British monarch has sat on the throne for 70 years like Queen Elizabeth II. So this is truly going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. You possibly can see and we can definitely hear all of the construction that's still going around here as we get ready for all of these celebrations. They officially kick off on Thursday with the Trooping of the Color. It's a military parade, also known as the Queen's Birthday Parade, for her soldiers to celebrate her. Rehearsals have already begun. We, in fact, saw a couple of them as we were walking through up to our area here. Prince William will be a part of it, but London is truly abuzz with excitement about this history-making event.
And Amy, speaking of that buzz, the royal season in London has begun with Buckingham Palace welcoming thousands of guests for the famous garden parties.
That's right. We've seen members of the royal family welcoming those invited guests for tea and cakes and, of course, those famous scones. The Queen herself, however, is in Balmoral. That's her Scottish estate. She's having a little pre-Jubilee rest, so she's ready to go come Thursday, Whit.
Wouldn't be a garden party without the tea and the scones. All right, Amy, thank you so much. Of course, we know you're going to be with us all morning long from Buckingham Palace with all the details on the Queen and the celebration.
Well, now it's time to talk about the NBA Finals. They are set this morning. The Boston Celtics holding off the Miami Heat in a very dramatic Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night, advancing to face the Golden State Warriors. Will Reeve is here now with that. It was a close game to the finish.
What a game, down to the wire, but as you mentioned, the finals are set, and the Boston Celtics as a franchise is so elemental to the NBA firmament that the league named the Eastern Conference MVP trophy after their best player ever, Larry Bird, and young superstar Jason Tatum hoisted that last night after his team hung on to advance to the NBA Finals, where NBA royalty lies in wait.
The Boston Celtics will go to the NBA Finals.
This morning, the countdown to the finals is finally on. It took all 7 games to determine the winner of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Boston Celtics holding off a furious...
7 lines. Can Plexiderm help in that area? You know what, Amy?
All the time. That's how I've always done things. Failure is not an option.
Sending boxing fans running for their lives. People had to be taken to the hospital. This morning, we take you inside the chaos. And breaking news this morning, new details following this weekend's horrific plane crash in Nepal. Info on its last moments and who was on board. And a live look at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. We'll be right back.
For me, I was learning how to walk.
Yeah, well, thanks, Joey. Thanks a lot. I was in grade school and junior high and high school. I never thought about any of the things that I think kids today ought to think about. And the other thing I love about this movie and that they didn't wokeify it, it's unabashedly patriotic. The enemies are clear. By the way, back in the 80s, when the enemy was the Soviet Union, we didn't have to worry about whether our president was compromised with, as we do right now with the Chinese. It was a simpler time. And again, this embrace of masculinity, we've called masculinity toxic. We had that forensic psychologist on talking about some of the things that are happening in our culture. And she said that the denigration of masculinity is absolutely part of this wicked soup that you talk about. Top Gun, embracing it all. And Will, I have to say, I'm just so excited that they took that famous bare-chested, oiled-up volleyball scene from the first one. If you love men like I do, you were so happy that they didn't cut that out. They just made it better in a football scene where everybody took their shirts off and oiled up, and we saw this great article that I sent to Will yesterday about all the protein bars and fasting that went into emergency workouts. I loved it. Bring it all on. I love it.
Well, I'm going to go see it today as well.
Will you get as excited about the football scene as me?
Yeah, no. I'm going by myself, by the way. My family's in Texas for Memorial Day. I'm working. Joey, let's go see the movie today if you want. I'm all about the football scene. I don't care. I can appreciate it. But it's imperfect messengers. I don't have an opinion of Tom Cruise, but I still love the movie. Like, that's the thing with our media. We can't let people's personal opinions and stuff like that stop us from enjoying what Americans can create. So I'm going to
Tom Cruise is the classic movie star. He has done what all the old good movie stars did. John Wayne of our day.
All right, coming up, former Green Beret commander and Florida Congressman Michael Waltz joins us live with his Memorial Day message.
Plus, we are firing up the grill. A chef shares his secret to successfully serving up the juiciest burgers.
And I would definitely recommend them.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are...
Nixon has your moderate to severe...
And he governed at a time of great divisions, but was able to forge something like unity. I want to play a clip from your new program that's debuting tonight, and then ask you a question on the back end.
Everything can change in a moment. Theodore Roosevelt did everything he could to be ready for that moment.
Theodore Roosevelt is born into privilege and great wealth.
A very sickly child, so he had to put up his dukes and fight.
Roosevelt saw himself as the embodiment of America.
He was the exemplar of the strenuous life.
He suffers loss. He suffers grief.
Here's a man who had everything: education, wealth, opportunities.
But he felt all of that must be used to help the lives of the unfortunate.
Fairness, justice, equity is what drove him.
You know, Doris, TR is sort of a man for all seasons. He's cited by presidents on both sides of the aisle. But one of the great challenges he faced was the deep divisions in terms of wealth and inequality that ultimately broke through in the progressive era, which he helped form. What was the secret to him being a catalytic leader at that moment?
No, I think the most important thing about Teddy Roosevelt was that the country, just as you say, was incredibly divided. The people in the East felt set off from the people in the West. People in the country were suspicious of people in the city. There were big companies swallowing up small companies. The Industrial Revolution had shaken up the economy, much like the tech revolution and globalization. Lots of immigrants were coming in from abroad. There were new technologies that scared people, the automobile, the submarine. People were feeling the change of pace was too much. And he warned that democracy would be at peril if people in different sections or parties regarded each other as the other rather than as common American citizens. But what made him the right man for the moment was his own career had been an incredibly winding path to the presidency. So he's absorbed different parts of life in different parts of the country. He started off, as that documentary said, as a man of privilege, but he worked in the state legislature. He saw tenement houses there. And then his wife died in childbirth on the same day that his mother, who'd come to take care of his wife, died of typhoid fever in the same house within hours. So depressed was he went to the Badlands to recover, and there he became a cowboy and a rancher, so he learned that way of life. And then he comes back to New York, and he's a police commissioner, wandering around the streets of New York at night, seeing slums in the middle of the night. Then he gets to be a Rough Rider, where he puts together Ivy Leaguers and woodsmen in this extraordinary fighting force, and eventually becomes governor and president. But by the time he's president, it's not a normal political path where you go from Congress to the Senate. It's a path that took him to see the other parts of America. And then he was able, with a square deal, to say, I want something with fundamental fairness for the rich and the poor, the capitalist and the wage worker. He was, as you point out with Lincoln, you talk about Lincoln as a soulful centrist. That's what TR was, a soulful centrist, fighting for that center cause.
And speaking of that soulful centrist, as Avlon describes him, it's the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln Memorial. It's not just Memorial Day here in Washington. I hope some people, as they visit and stand before that monument, are able to reflect on that, Doris. But I wonder, and here we see so many of them, you see how busy it is today. What are the lessons this many years later that we can take?
Well, I think, you know, as John would understand so greatly, it's not just what Lincoln did, you know, that he was the person who saved the Union and won the war and eventually ended slavery, but it's the man and who he was, that temperament of a man who somehow had suffered a great loss himself, but was able to keep his sense of humor, to bring people together from different parts of the party, you know, a team of rivals as he created, and that he just had a moral character that was able to move forward as events made it possible to bring about that Emancipation Proclamation. And that's what we need, is that kind of people going into politics today with a sense of character, a sense of purpose, when he almost was told he would lose the 1864 election unless he compromised on slavery. The Republicans left in despair when he refused to. He said, I would be damned in time and eternity if I did so, willing to lose that election because to keep the goal of emancipation. That's what we need, is politicians with a sense of purpose greater than themselves, an ambition that's not just self but for the country. And maybe we have to depend on that younger generation to take heart from Lincoln. Look at that spiritual place that it was, a live monument. I was there. I'm old enough to have been there for the March on Washington in 1963. It was an extraordinary moment, not just to hear Martin Luther King, but also we all joined hands and sung We Shall Overcome. You felt that, yes, with this force of 250,000 people, something will happen. And it did happen. The Civil Rights Bill passes, Voting Rights Bill passes. We made great progress. And then again, it's been turned back, and we got to do it again. Marian Anderson sung there when she wasn't allowed to be at the Constitution Hall. So for Lincoln, I think he would be so glad to know that where he sits is a place that other great movements have come to express their feelings and to make change happen.
Preach, Doris Kearns Goodwin, the Lincoln Memorial, Temple of Democracy, 100 years old today. Thank you so much for joining us on New Day, Doris. Be well.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with you.
Always, always. All right. Bipartisan efforts to overhaul gun laws seem to be gaining some traction in Congress. So, how are gun owners responding? Plus, we're tracking the first hurricane of 2022, now barreling towards Mexico's coast.
I thought for the again.
Storm is moving through the region right now, then we'll get a little bit of a break. Temperature-wise, we're going to have quite a range. 60s and even a few 50s out by Kadoka, but 50s and 60s out west. 80s, mid to upper 80s in the east. A cold front will slide through the region. The wind will pick up and switch around to the north, and we're going to have another risk for severe weather. Enhanced to moderate risk in eastern parts of the region, especially northeastern South Dakota to western Minnesota. That's a 4 out of 5 there on that severe weather scale. Main threats for large hail, strong wind gusts, and even a few isolated tornadoes. So make sure you're staying up to date on the forecast. If you have just any plans in general, stay up to date on the forecast here today. And the wind's going to pick up to, like I said, a wind advisory for southeastern parts of the region. Non-thunderstorm wind gusts not in a thunderstorm. We're talking about 45 to 55 miles per hour. Tomorrow, no severe weather, cloudy, cooler, chance of rain, high of 67. After that, we're going to have a few quiet days. The sun should come back out. We'll be in the 70s for highs before we bring in a slight chance for some more thunderstorms over the weekend.
Now is a great time to talk about that special offer.
And ingredients to power more when it matters. More life in your
DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
I go up to the Capitol. I tell myself to be worthy. And that's my message to all Americans.
That's exactly right.
Be worthy of their sacrifice. Be worthy of those men and women that are out there right now prepared to die for all of us and for the values of that flag. And there are times this nation falls short. But at the end of the day, if we all tell ourselves to be worthy and we all serve each other, our communities, our neighbors, our families, our country, I think we'll be a far better country for it.
Be an American worth dying for. I love that message. Thank you, Representative, and today, Colonel Michael Watts. Thank you for your service, and as like you, we remember our brothers and sisters. Thanks for joining us. All right.
Thanks, Joey.
Coming up on this Memorial Day, we are live on board the Intrepid as we remember our fallen heroes. Plus, the world is making an incredible milestone in Queen Elizabeth's reign and royalty. Piers Morgan joins us live with what to expect as we count down to the Platinum Jubilee.
Dude, great ride, right?
This Silverado keeps me connected and
Prices doubled. We have a crisis at the border and a president in the White House who doesn't care. Right now, they're in control. But that'll change, and when it does, we'll be ready. In the meantime, I'll keep working for the thing that matters, you.
It's Make My Money. The Asper Cream.
West to the 80s in the east as a cold front slides through. We do have a moderate risk for severe weather for northeastern South Dakota, an enhanced risk in the eastern part of the region as well. Main threats will be for some large hail and some strong wind gusts. Isolated tornadoes are possible as well, so make sure you're staying up to date on the forecast. We also have a wind advisory that's set to go into effect for southeastern parts of the region starting at noon and lasting until 8 this evening. Non-thunderstorm wind gusts 45 to 55 miles per hour. So windy, severe weather possible here later on today. Chance of rain 67 tomorrow, but then we should dry out, clear out, and get back up into the 70s.
From luxurious items for the years spent together.
800. Sing it. We're the most reliable.
Per hour. We got up to 80 today in Sioux Falls and in Huron, 75 your number for Mulbridge, 72 Rapid City, 82 though as you went up toward Aberdeen. Now we do have a front
in the fall.
We could see that again today, and that is downright dangerous. Crops, property, people, anything that you leave outside that you don't want to get damaged, move it inside this morning. We already have some storms ongoing producing gusty winds as well as lightning, thunder, some hail this morning as well. Nothing as big as what we saw yesterday, but we're ramping up our threat as we get into the afternoon. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Milford as well as Spencer and Spirit Lake. This is until 8 a.m. In Iowa. There's I-35. Mason City is referenced, so we're just to the west of that and just to the south of I-90. We've had a few dangerous storms already this morning, and this is just the beginning of what will be an incredibly active day. And then we take you to Minnesota, and we had some very strong storms that moved through the St. Cloud area earlier this morning. The severe thunderstorm warning, it was warned for winds up to 70 miles per hour. So we did see those strong winds blow through, knocking out power right now at 22,000 customers in Minnesota. And keep in mind, customers, one customer is just a household that could have 4 or 5 people in it. So it's likely more than 22,000 that are without power at this moment in Minnesota. More power outages likely as we see stronger storms move through, especially what you see in purple, where storms are very likely. Fargo all the way down to Sioux Falls. The tornado threat today is tremendous. We could see intense long track tornadoes anywhere that you see that bright pink color. That's where you have a torcon of 7, but stretching all the way down to central Kansas, Wichita and Salina, Kansas, torcon of 2 to 3 on the map. And then we bring in the factor that we're going to have some intense updrafts in these storms, and that will be supportive of large hail once again. Now, the area that you see hatched in white, it's saying 2 inches or greater in diameter, but I think it's very possible that we see a kind of a repeat performance of what we saw yesterday with some hailstones that are, approaching the size of baseballs, maybe even grapefruit size hail. Keep that in mind as we go throughout the day. Last stop here, I want to show you the timing of what we're expecting. Multiple rounds of storms moving through, but this is what I'm most concerned about, firing up during part of the afternoon from Sioux Falls all the way up to Fargo, stretching into Minnesota. That's when the weather, Kelly, could be the most intense.
Speaking of Minnesota, Molly, we have brand new pictures of storm damage out of Marshall, Minnesota. This is in the southwestern part of the state. You can see the trees broken in half. The City of Emergency Management is out there conducting a preliminary damage assessment, and the Public Works Department is out there clearing blocked roadways. Lyon County reporting just over 600 customers without power, but statewide, as Molly just talked about, you're up in over 20,000 customers without power up and down the state of Minnesota. All right, so be careful doing any traveling today, because unfortunately we are not done yet in Minnesota. We still have more severe weather to get through today. You can see them right now firing up across the northern part of the state, kind of angling in from the southeast. But notice the regeneration of storms too, where you didn't see lightning a second ago. All of a sudden we've got storms developing south of Grand Forks. So this entire area needs to be monitored for not just severe wind, but tornadoes as well. We've got a pretty high number, torcon 7. Maximum threat on our scale goes up to a 10. So that's a pretty high number. We'll likely see tornado watches being issued today. Watching Grand Forks to Fargo, you can see the storms as they develop. Any one of these storms could put down some trees and power lines, and then you get another wave of storms moving in from the south side of Fargo by the evening time frame as you're hoping to do some grilling outdoors. But remember, have a way to get those warnings if you're doing any travel. Pay attention to the radar. Here's a look at South Dakota. You can see most of the heavy rain off to the east of us, but this area will fill in yet again as we head towards later this afternoon. You get that daytime heating, and boom, you see those storms really start to fire up during the afternoon and the evening time frame. We'll be right back.
This program brought to you by Lowe's. Your happiest spring starts here.
Introducing our most durable exterior paint that helps protect against dirt and grime. This Memorial Day, get $10 off 1-gallon cans and $40 off 5-gallon pails, including HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Everlast. Exclusively at Lowe's.
President Biden has proclaimed today a day of prayer for permanent peace, honoring our fallen angels, asking God to protect American troops. Adrienne?
Thank you so much, Allison. Meanwhile, over the weekend, Arlington National Cemetery did host its first ever Flower of Remembrance Day in honor of Memorial Day. This is a rare opportunity for the public to get the chance to lay flowers at the tomb of the unknown. This is amazing. It hasn't happened in a century. The Pentagon says the Flower of Remembrance Day pays homage to the first official decoration day, which is now known as Memorial Day. And our service members do so much for us in this country. It can take a physical and mental toll, especially on those serving on board a ship at sea for months. There are some ways to try and keep up morale, though, for sailors and crew. Alex Capriello has this News Nation exclusive.
Many of the sailors I spoke to shared with me how tough life at sea is on both their physical and their mental health. They continually face harsh conditions and also isolation away from their family and friends.
During basic training, sailors learn what it takes to be warrior tough. But it's more than just being physically ready for warfare.
Not only your body, but also your mind and also your spirit.
Chaplain Lee Yee of the USS Nimitz frequently talks to sailors coping with the pressures of their jobs and long deployments at sea. An often heavy responsibility. Navy reports indicate over the last 3 years, a growing number of sailors have deserted their post, more than double since 2019. The sailors I spoke to say living 24/7 on a ship takes a toll on them, and they don't think many Americans understand the stresses they're under.
They don't see what we do here. They don't know what we go through, what we have to deal with when we're out to sea, not talking to our families, any of that.
Aboard the Nimitz, there are resources to improve quality of life and address mental health concerns. A quiet library to read a book, scheduled group activities like bingo to pass the time with friends and build camaraderie, and additional services to help with family and financial pressures when back on dry land.
We are doing everything we can to make sure that they have the resources they need. They can come to us, they can talk to us.
The sailors I spoke to shared that while life can feel heavy, they're thankful for the decision they've made to join this team.
Do you ever have any regrets about joining the Navy?
No, sir. I have no regrets. I like the choices that I'm making. I feel like if I didn't make those choices, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
The Pentagon has created a committee aimed at specifically reviewing the Navy's mental health policies for sailors. They told Congress that they're going to compile a comprehensive report that they'll deliver to Washington by February. Back to you.
All right, our thanks to Alex. Coming up, summer. It means a lot of people are looking for another job or maybe a side gig. News Nation has your answers for what you can do to make your resume stand out, where you can make the most cash. Plus, News Nation has also been live at the Indy 500 all weekend long. And this morning, our Kelsey Kernstein, she got the chance to go around the track with a driving legend at speeds of up to 180 miles per hour. What that was like, next.
Head out on the highway. Higher evolution of human civilization. Absolutely.
In relation to Jubilees when I was young, because none of us ever lived that long.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I can't let you go without just a little bit of juicy gossip, because you know that's why I love you. So we know that the brothers are now supposedly talking now. There's some warming of that relationship. But also, the Queen is going to meet Lilibet, Harry and Meghan's second child, for the first time ever. Big news at Frogmore Cottage, by the way.
Well, it is big news in a way. The biggest news ought to be the Queen, and I sincerely hope that Meghan and Harry don't. I just hope, Rachel, Meghan and Harry don't pull their normal publicity-seeking stunts and try and take the attention away from Her Majesty, because that would be extremely irritating over here. A new poll came out yesterday showing the Queen is by far the most popular royal, and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are now the least popular. So I hope that they bear that in mind and behave in a dignified way. But they're coming over with their two children, including Lilibet. We never really got to the bottom of whether the Queen approved of them using the nickname that Prince Philip gave her, Lilibet, when they chose that name for their child. So that's still an unanswered question. The Queen was due to be at the big horse racing event, the Derby over here, which is the biggest flat racing event that we have each year. But because of her ongoing health and primarily mobility issues, she's having a lot of trouble just basically getting around and walking. She's now reduced the amount of exposure she'll have during the 4-day holiday, and the priorities for her will be on the Buckingham Palace balcony for the Trooping of the Colour, and also for the St Paul's service and various other events. So on the Saturday, she's now clear, and she will apparently be meeting Meghan, Harry, and the two children, the two grandchildren, including Lilibet, for the first time. So that is certainly an interesting bit of gossip for you, Rachel, but I hope it doesn't detract from the bigger event, which is our country and the world paying homage to the greatest monarch in British history.
Well, a big deal for us here at Fox is the fact that you and Ainsley and Martha will be hosting this special coverage of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee on Thursday, Friday from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. And Piers, please don't leave out the juicy details for us. We're all going to be tuning in for the Queen.
Rachel, I
but
promise
we like
you,
that too.
Rachel, I promise you there'll be plenty of gossip. I'm going to be on air for 8 hours for Fox and Friends on Thursday and Friday. It is beyond my self-control not to give you loads of gossip in that time. So you've made a clever booking here because I won't be able to help myself. And one more thing, Rachel, before I let you go. Top Gun, I went to see it on Friday. It is the best movie I have seen since the first one. So all your excitement about seeing it later is justified. It is fantastic. A throwback to what movies used to be. Great fun, great action, and you come out feeling good. Remember those days?
I remember, and hot movie stars. Thank you, Piers. You're the best. All right.
Take care.
So, own your day. 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Piers. Always fun.
That would mean more births and more pressure on an already strained system. Janet Shamlian sat down with one expectant mother in Texas, where babies are delivered at fewer than half of rural hospitals.
Haley Samuelitz and her husband Austin are expecting their third child in June. The high school teacher has a concern most pregnant women don't. When it's time to give birth, can she get to the hospital in time?
When you go into labor, how long will it take you to get to the hospital?
About an hour.
How many miles is it?
60.
60 miles of rural highway to get to the labor and delivery unit of a hospital in Amarillo, Texas.
Come on.
It's now the closest to her, after the hospital in Pampa, where she lives, closed its unit several years ago.
Does that scare you that you would have to drive an hour to get to your hospital?
Yes. Yes. We had a close call with my son, so it is a little nerve-wracking.
Labor and delivery units, like this one at the Hereford Regional Medical Center in the Texas Panhandle, are becoming rare in some rural areas.
Smaller rural hospitals, you know, they're having to make decisions on what kind of services they want to provide or can provide.
Jeff Barnhart runs the hospital. It has the only maternity unit for 1,600 square miles.
Come in here, okay?
Adding to the problem, staffing shortages intensified by the pandemic have hit harder than in urban areas. Budgets are smaller and recruiting nurses more difficult.
It's been a challenge. Nurses are the lifeblood of the hospital, and, you know, we've got to have them.
He's determined to keep the labor and delivery unit open, but a few times a week when there aren't enough nurses, an ambulance will drive a woman in labor 50 miles to deliver the baby in Amarillo.
It's disheartening for them.
Candace Smith is the hospital's chief nursing officer.
The woman that's about to deliver her baby, she wants to deliver with the provider that she's, you know, established a relationship with and she's comfortable with.
With the distances involved, there are close calls.
We've had babies that just didn't quite make it in the door and were delivered in the parking lot here.
This soon-to-be mom of 3 hopes hers isn't one of them.
What plans have you made with the doctor, considering the distance that you'll have to travel?
So even if I think it's labor, even if it might not be, we'll just head that direction. Better safe than sorry. You know, we can always turn around and come home.
After 9 months, for some, still a distance to go. For CBS Mornings, Janet Shamlian, Hereford, Texas.
I can relate a little bit. I grew up in really rural central Pennsylvania. My mom was a good hour from the hospital. I wasn't born in a parking lot. She made it. I waited, but a big problem.
Yeah, no.
That line jumps out at me. The only maternity center for 1,600 square miles.
It's unbelievable.
And they're not alone. I mean, it's a problem across the Midwest and even some parts of the East and South. Well, up next, we'll have the stories you'll be talking about today. But first, it is 7:43. Time to check your local weather.
Good morning, Ketherland. I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens. Update on your morning weather on this Memorial Day. We have a fairly substantial risk of severe weather. All modes of severe weather are possible, most of it after 12 o'clock. Damaging winds, tornadoes, some isolated or scattered hail reports up to the size of baseballs. Obviously, it's a day to stay weather aware, stay plugged in, and have a plan in place of severe weather strikes. We'll have more details coming up from the Storm Center in just a few minutes.
Him with.
She was a cultural force.
Julia was a pop icon.
Julia Child presents the Chicken Sisters.
Today you have rock star chefs. Julia's the first.
I think I love you.
She absolutely expanded the possibilities of what women could do.
Julia really paved the way for this incredible moment of food and pop culture, making this very domestic profession something extremely popular.
We were ripe for a change, and there I was.
Whether you cooked or didn't cook, people would just watch her for fun.
You were mesmerized, spellbound by what she was saying.
She just seemed so unpretentious that you thought if she could do it, you could do it.
The delicious life of America's first celebrity chef.
Bon appetit.
Julia, a CNN film, premieres tonight at 8 on CNN.
In the Middle Ages.
So people saying a lot of things.
We see the public queen, the queen of duty, and to see and hear her explain her life in such warmth and candor, it was just amazing. Unprecedented footage. And what also struck me, I think, is the Queen was willing to do something, at age 96 that she's never done before. So she is so innovative and open to new ideas. I mean, it just really shows what an extraordinary person she is.
Oh, I mean, and it's pretty remarkable. You mentioned she's 96 years young, right? How is she feeling about the event right now? You can see, obviously, the pomp and circumstance. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. This has never happened in the UK before. How is she feeling?
I think she'll be feeling really, really grateful, really thankful, delighted that she can share her Jubilee with so many people, not just in the United Kingdom, but globally. It's a time for family, it's a time for Thanksgiving, and it's something that my generation, my children's generation, will never see again. It is absolutely unique.
And it is so nice to have something to celebrate during these times.
Absolutely.
Elsa, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it, guys. You know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event to be here, so we're happy to be able to bring it all to you. We hope you get to have as much fun across the pond as we are here.
All right, thanks, Amy. And coming up, our play of the day is next. Stay with us.
And share with you, we have all
apparel.
We're green.
We're at the mercy of Mother Nature. We have a few storms coming in that we need to beat.
That a company might receive.
Well, number one is just to show up for your interview. You're hearing from so many organizations who say that they're getting ghosted during the interview process.
Not good.
So, yeah, exactly. It's important to do what you say you're going to do. And even if and it's kind of like speed dating, right? Even if it ends up not being a match for you, you've made connections. And in the world of work, you know this too, Adrienne, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yes. Absolutely. And that has proven true in my life and everybody I know's life who has any kind of a reputation. Because people talk and the world is smaller today than it ever has been before. Rebecca Ryan, so good to see you. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy a 3-day weekend after this because we made you work today.
Happy Memorial Day. I would have only done it for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, in a series you only see here, Home of the Brave, we're going to share stories of veterans doing things that will really touch your heart and are making the world a better place. Up next, what sparked one woman's passion to help families in mourning.
This game may look like just a bunch of words, but the cable news media know better.
Do it. But we appreciate the reminder that it is about actions over words and reminding us some of those ways we can act in remembrance and honor of those who've paid the ultimate price. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up on this Memorial Day, we are live on board the Intrepid, where men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces are coming together, and we are firing up the grill to show you how to make the best burger for your summer cookout. A chef
right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or...
Thank you.
This is a really...
Ken line, and he had a good reason.
After soccer fans were tear-gassed at the European Champions League final near Paris. French police fired pepper spray and tear gas at Liverpool fans waiting to enter the stadium on Saturday. France's sports minister says problems started when fans tried to enter without valid tickets. He says local youths who tried to force their way through the gates only made it worse. The kickoff for the match between Liverpool and Real Madrid was delayed 35 minutes. Liverpool CEO said the treatment of the club Cubs fans was, quote, absolutely unacceptable. I mean, we think we have wild fans for American
No.
football.
So you've seen football.
Yeah, right.
Soccer fans.
Yeah, no.
My husband is a diehard Liverpool fan. We were watching and he was pacing. I mean, it was really chaotic. I've never seen a delay like that.
Yeah, and observers say that they were very calm. Some of them in the beginning were calm until that tear gas happened.
I guess. I mean, that'll keep you from being calm.
Yeah, no.
For sure. Now, the FBI is investigating the authenticity of 25 Jean-Michel Basquiat paintings, according to the New York Times.
He was involved in a car crash. The NYPD says no shots were fired during a disturbance at the Barclays Center. More than a dozen people, though, were hurt when they fled what they thought was gunfire. And Mexico is bracing for Hurricane Agatha. That's the first of the Eastern Pacific season. Forecasters expect the storm to keep building until it makes landfall tonight along the southern coast. And the NYPD says thieves stole a $2 million 18-karat pure gold tabernacle from a Catholic church in Brooklyn using power tools to forcefully cut open the church's altar. And they also decapitated several angel statues in the process. That tabernacle dates back to the 1890s. And those are the 5 things to know for your new day. More on these stories all day on CNN and CNN.com. And don't forget to download the 5 Things podcast every morning. Go to CNN.com/5things. San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler protesting the national anthem in the wake of the Uvalde massacre. A mixed reaction pouring in. And we'll go to the White House this morning as President Biden prepares to honor the nation's fallen heroes on this Memorial Day.
Only advanced.